Good morning. This is not what you expect to wake up to in the morning. Oh my gosh.
Driving through Chicago with the RV on what I think is some of the worst roads that I've ever seen.
Another broken glass from bouncing around in the constant earthquake.
What does your RV go through like traveling on these crazy roads?
Man, my trim fell down, my wall panel popped off, I lost a cabinet door, lost a light. Trailer's getting airborne. I've seen that going down the road.
Okay.
Basically, all the shock and road violence. This is a rolling earthquake.
Front frame cracking and sidewalls cracking and things like that.
I've seen things. It's like farmers. I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two kind of thing.
Well, I'm not going anywhere soon. Hey, strangers! The roads are terrible. How do you protect your RV from the constant earthquake, from tearing it apart? Well, we're headed to Indiana for a solution. Terrible.
Just after 6 a.m., Elkhart, Indiana, and I am at EnjoyTheJourney.Life for probably the most wanted install ever. Everybody that gets a big rig, fifth wheel RV, especially a toy haul or triple axle, wants independent suspension. We are finally getting that today. I'm Tom.
And I'm Cherie.
And we're EnjoyTheJourney.Life. Good morning. It's Kenmore. Sergio.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm Tom.
Okay. I'm Sergio. How you doing, man?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, man.
You guys start nice and early, don't you?
We try. We try.
All right.
So what we're doing right now, we just put in those trailer in that direction over there, and I'd like you to do right after them. Just put your trailer.
Okay.
That way we can take measurements in it.
Okay, so watch what he's doing and
just next to him.
Sounds good. I'll pull right up next to him then.
Thank you.
Thank you. You said Jay?
Yeah.
Hey Jay, I'm Tom. Nice to meet you. All right.
Go get the paperwork real quick.
Sounds good. A lot of specs to get it right, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I am super excited to be at Morryde today in Elkhart, Indiana. We have Hayden here. You're the service manager, right?
That's correct, yep. The first step in the process is to get you measured. So what we do is we take a lot of different measurements. That helps us determine what size riser tube we need to put in. Our objective is to get you leaving here as level front to back as we can. In order to do that, we need to take a series of measurements. We plug that into a spreadsheet that then will spit out what riser tube we need to use to get you to that level point.
13.5. 13.4.5. 13.2.5.
Once we do that, we bring the unit back into the shop. When we back you in, we get you plugged in, so that way you've got power. A lot of people like to run their refrigerators while they're here, which is totally fine. A lot of people end up camping in the unit overnight too, so while you're here, you do get the opportunity to stay in the coach while it's in the shop. A lot of people really like that because they don't have to go to a hotel, they can stay in their home. So we do have the 50 amps, that way you can run your AC, your heat, all your appliances. You're not lacking any of that.
So can any RV get the independent suspension?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. So we predominantly see fifth wheel trailers. There are some restrictions. So like, for example, you won't see anything that has a GVWR of less than 9,500, 9,000, kind of at the bare bottom, getting it. We do see a lot of heavy travel trailers come in that are in the 10 to 12,000 range. We've seen horse trailers, all kinds of stuff. So it's not just necessarily RVs either. I've seen car trailers get it. So it's typically a heavier system that will get it. Like I said, the GVWR would at least have to be 9,000 for us to put the IS on. So one of the myths that we hear a lot of in the RV industry is that there's a lot of poor craftsmanship, poor quality coming out of the factory itself. And in all reality, I don't want to say that that's incorrect, but I do think that about 50% of the time you can relate all these issues to pulling the RV down the road, whether it's going just to your local campground or going across the country. You could put these through some serious potholes, some serious chucking, some serious bouncing. And what that does is it creates earthquake-like conditions inside of the RV. If you put your home through an earthquake, half of what you put your RV through, I think you'd be very surprised on what would fall apart in your home, not just your RV. So one of the biggest things that you can do to help protect your RV against earthquake-like conditions and really help improve the longevity of your coach would be invest in the suspension. That's the foundation of the house. We have a lot of good options, the IS being the absolute best. So you're gonna really help the longevity of your coach and the quality of your ride. And then the frustrations. You're not going to be going and setting at a dealership for wall panels and loose trim and cabinets and all things like that.
For more about suspension, we're going to bring in an RV expert. It's Josh, the RV nerd from Bish's RV.
That's being a little generous.
Great to catch you here at Alliance RVs, and you've got like some words to say about suspension, right?
Yeah, something. I've been in it for a minute. I've been doing this for the better part of about 15 years now, and I won't call myself an expert or an authority, but I've seen things. It's like farmers. I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two kind of thing. And if you want your RV to hold together going down the road and you want to keep it out of the shop, one of the first things you should look at is making sure you have a good suspension package, like one of these MORRYDEs or anything of that nature, because basically all the shock and road violence, this is a rolling earthquake. Anything that's not absorbed here has to get translated up. Every nut, bolt, widget, fastener, all has to deal with that violence. And then eventually the roof actually gets some of the worst of it, which is where a lot of leaks actually develop on the roof, is actually because the roof got shook around so much it pulled and split seals. A lot of roof failures start at ground level. So if you want to enjoy your RV and stay out of the shop, spend a couple of bucks, put some sneakers on the kid.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Josh, because in talking with MORRYDE, I had this epiphany that it's like people think RVs are maybe not built up to quality like they should be, but it's not so much the RV build, it's the bad roads out there.
You know, to be fair, there are a couple sins on both sides of the equation, but The thing that I also really believe after a lot of years, and this is a hot take, this is something that is my opinion that maybe not everyone necessarily agrees with, but RV makers and RV dealers don't set the market, they reflect the market. Things that are built to sell, and they build the thing that is most likely to sell. And a suspension package upgrade is a couple $100 that a lot of RVers, especially first timers, they don't know what they don't know. So they don't know why this fifth wheel and costs less than that fifth wheel, and because it's missing a couple bucks here, but they don't realize that's the most expensive couple bucks they ever saved.
Well, hey, Josh, thanks so much. I know you're filming a lot of stuff today. Thanks so much for coming in here and sharing that. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And we'll throw a link if you've never heard of this guy, which I don't think that's possible, but we'll throw a link to their channel down below so you can check them out.
Well, thank you very much. Hey, everybody, be safe out there, all right?
It's going to be so nice getting rid of these leaf springs and all of this. I mean, these are actually pretty new and they're already rusting again, but God, it's just going to be such a better system than all of this. Kind of a scary thing seeing the brake line cut like that. Just crazy that all of this is going to get trashed and replaced. It's going to be so sweet on the road. That is just so insane to watch.
And we are working with EnjoyTheJourney to test out their products and give them feedback, like this one right here, the X-Spray Stabilizer. We love this, and if you're interested in any of the other awesome EnjoyTheJourney products, we can actually save you 7% using the code EnjoyTheJourney. And for more install videos, how-to videos, adventures, and more, make sure you smash that subscribe button so you catch all of our videos.
Well, I'm not going anywhere soon.
So what we're going to talk about are some of the benefits to the IS as why it's better than your standard leaf spring system. So we're going to remove our leaf springs themselves. We have what we call a rubber shear spring. So this is essentially what you're replacing that with. A lot of folks have had or know someone who has had broken leaf springs. That's a very problematic component of a standard leaf spring tube axle system. So we're taking that completely out of the picture. On a standard system, you're going to have about a 3-inch wide mounting bracket for your hanger and your equalizer. With this, we're going to be looking at about 18 inches worth of a hanger. So it's a lot, the stress is spread out. You're still going to have some stress there, but we do add a lot of lateral cross members to help with that. And then we're going to spread that over the course of 16 inches versus just 3, which is really going to be a benefit to you in your travels. So this rubber shear spring is going to dampen the road shock, dissipate energy, and allow you to travel 5.5 inches up and down before you're bottoming out. When you bottom out, that's when energy is transferred up into the coach. That's when you get the earthquake-like symptoms that happen while you're going down the road. This piece right here is what we call our beam assembly. So that's our linkage arm that essentially you're pivoting on. So it's going riding down the road. You're going to be pivoting this way. Another big advantage of what you're going to get is that it's an alignable system. So on a tube axle system, you cannot realign those axles. You have to replace them, and that's not an easy thing to do financially, or just to find someone to do it, or someone that has the right one. So this orange piece that we're looking at right here, so this is actually our torque bracket. With that, you have adjustments. So you can actually loosen this whole assembly, and then you can twist it and change the toe angle, and then we make shims that you can add between the orange and the blue right here. That will change the camber angle of the tire. So instead of having to buy a new axle, if you ever have a major impact, you can go ahead and just get it realigned.
Now that's a really strange look for the RV. Out with the old. So what do you guys do here mostly?
Yes, so it's primarily IS, aftermarket installs.
Okay.
But then we do a little bit of everything else. But the main thing that we see here is the independent suspension.
Okay. All right. And you guys are pretty backed up, right?
Yeah, end of the year. Quite a few appointments into 2024 already taken is a nice one.
Okay.
Not a lot of people like to come up here in the cold winter, but we're welcoming them all. So, but yeah, people will come back and they'll get maintenance appointments with us to look at the outlet, repack the bearings, do alignments, things like that. It's not just new installs, but the main product that we see through here is the independent suspension.
Okay, right. I talked to a couple that was having an alignment and the bearings taken care of. And so book early if you want something done here. And so I was talking to Sergio about we're going from 7K up to 8K.
Yep.
And so how does that work?
Yeah, so you've already got the disc brakes. You've got 7K disc brakes. What we look at is on the back side. So you would look at these bolts right here. So there's 5 of them. This is what we would call a 5-bolt spindle system. In the 7,000 pound axles, they make 5 and they make 4-bolt patterns. So if you want to go to 8K, it has to be 4-bolt. That's the only option. If you have 5, you can go back to a 7,000 pound IS, just not an 8. So I see about 50-50 as far as the bolt pattern on a 7K. I've seen them in 4, I've seen them in 5. But if it is the 5, then you do have to go with a new setup if you want to go to the 8K.
Okay. Well, more is always better, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I heard from somebody else that's recently got the independent suspension that is now a bolt-on instead of welding?
Yep. So not across the board. The 8,000 pound axles are what we call a bolt-on on most floor plans. Not everything yet. It's still a newer system. Grand Design Alliance are both doing it at the factory level. There's a lot of other OEMs that are kind of in the works with that. But yeah, here in service, we do as many of them as bolt-on as we can. It's a much less invasive process. We're not tearing the underbelly all apart. We're not welding on the frame. There's a couple big advantages. One would be if there's tanks right above your axles, you can then just easily drop the axles and get to that tank as opposed to having to cut everything off and then access it that way. So that's one of the big advantages. The other is if you ever get a new unit that has the same dimensions as far as track width and frame width, you can then take those axles and move them to your new rig, which is also a huge advantage. You're not buying the suspension twice, so to say.
Wow, yeah, no kidding.
So those are the biggest advantages of the bolt-on. Like I said, we're trying to get all bolt-on across the board. We're not there yet, but we're making a lot of progress. So then we'll drop the axles. From there, what we're going to do is we're going to install the riser tubes. So the riser tubes get installed. That's what the axle bolts to, but that's also the spacers. That's essentially the lift that we're putting on your coach, because typically you'll see guys come in nose high. So we need to raise the back of the trailer up. So that's what we're doing. It allows us to raise the back of the trailer up. What we're looking at now is, currently what we're doing is putting the risers on. So riser tubes are something that we've used on weld-on as well as bolt-on. The only difference is with our bolt-on riser tubes, they look completely different. So with the weld-ons, they're just a standard solid tube. You've got inch increment differences for heights. That's how we actually level the trailer out. But with this, we've got all these V gussets cut into it to allow the hangers to slide right over. We bolt them in right in the center. All your weight goes up to the I-beam, and then you've got you're tying all these hangers together with one solid piece.
Okay,
so
wow.
You get the durability, and then you get the lift, and then our axles mount right onto these clips. So we'll put those on. While this is all happening, they're actually building your axles up in a different plant. So that way that you're getting the right fit of axle for your trailer. This is our facility where we build all the independent suspension axles. Now, we don't build every single component here, but we do the assembly here. So we have a machine shop on the north side of town. They do a lot of the parts for us. They send everything down here, and then we put everything together, which is what we see here. So these are all finished product. These are all ready to go on units. So this is what we're building. We kind of get everything up here in pieces, and then we'll make it look like this. So the line it's a straight through line. So we have the front of the line all the way down to the back. So we have a large hanger that we can hang the axles on and move them from front to back, and then we put everything on. Do a final inspection back there. If we miss any welds or anything like that, we can go ahead and touch it up, and then get it off the line onto a skid, and then they'll bring them out here and they'll set them down. These are all ready to go. either to service or to manufacturers that are doing the installs.
Okay. I guess I didn't realize that they were all connected in the middle.
So
I didn't realize that.
Yep. So this is how we ship them. So this is step 2. But yeah, so you've got this piece here is what we call our hanger. So what that does is it gives you lateral support. So we're strengthening the I-beam, and it does provide a better mount. So we're not just relying it to the I-beam in one spot. You can lock it all together. So just like the X Factor product we talked about earlier, same concept with a cross member. So we actually, each axle is a cross member, and then we added the additional 2 on top of that to really strengthen up the I-beam in that section of the frame. Essentially what they've looked like, minus the disc brakes. We've used different brands of disc brakes over the years, but the engineering of the IS itself has not changed since the late 90s.
Okay.
Something a lot of people don't realize is that it's been around for so long, but road conditions and awareness of what's going on inside your trailer has not really been a big issue until recently. Full-time RVers were not a big thing 10, 15 years ago. Currently, it's kind of the rave, so people are putting a lot more miles on their trailers. They're not just going up the road to the local campground and home every other weekend. So that's where the IS has really gained a lot of traction in the last 5 to 6 years. Grand Design Alliance are offering IS as an option, so you can buy a coach with IS already on from Grand Design or Alliance. When we send those axles out, we send them all pre-assembled, so to say. So we're going to look at the racks over here. This is how they receive those axles. So we built the axles in the line, we set them on the track, and then over here we've actually got one working on. So where you can see everything being tied together. They run out the brake lines and everything. So when they get them on the line, all they have to do, raise them up out of the coach, bolt them in, and then they're down the line. So it's actually a very, very fast install on the line. We do all the legwork here. The manufacturers love it. They actually say it's faster to install this than a set of standard tube axles. But that's because we're doing a lot of legwork here. We've got a lot of time in these here.
And it's a lot less weight as well, right?
Yep.
You're not putting on a regular axle, bringing it over here and, getting rid of another set of axles. Yep. Are the brake lines up inside or are they out and exposed?
Yep, so they're up inside the I-beam.
Okay.
The exterior, but they're up inside the I-beam. They're not below the I-beam.
Okay, so protected from like a potential tire blowout.
Correct. Or road debris, things like that. Now, every manufacturer may run their road different. That's how we do it here.
Okay.
I do know that like DRV, and a lot of the collectors right here and have us rewrite the brake. That's what they chose to do, and but some people like the safety aspect of, like I said, blown tires, any kind of road debris, anything like that, you can avoid.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've had a few tire blowouts.
Yeah.
So does MORRYDE have a patent on this?
Yep. So the IS is intended. So this bolt-on method is patent pending. So that's, like I said, the suspension's been around since the late 90s. Nothing's changed, minus in the last year we've now introduced bolt-on. That's the first real change. So that method of install has been patent pending, but the IS itself has been patented at that time. To get that complete, they send them down to the shop. The tech will then install the axles.
Well, there's 2 of them. We've got 1 more to come. So this is Lindsay here with service at MORRYDE, and you really help make this experience go really smooth, right?
Yep. I work in the service department. I schedule all the jobs. I've got a great team across the plant that books all of them for me. So it's a pleasure getting to meet all of you. So yeah, you'll deal with me for any of your scheduling needs. And kind of what we do, we want to make sure that you have as much information as possible when you're booking your appointment. So we want you to come here confidently, knowing what you're going to get, what you're going to experience, what your time's going to be like here. So we try and give you all that information up front at the start of the job. So when you get here, we wake you up bright and early, 6 a.m. I know it's rough. But we start jobs at 6. You'll be greeted by Hayden and Sergio, and they'll kind of talk over the job, what to expect, and then you'll end up going into our lobby where you'll meet Monica. We provide you lunch for the day while you're here, and we just really want you to feel like you're at home.
This is the customer service lounge right here. Even get a welcome with our name on it. What was that,
This is
Hayden?
Monica. She works at the front desk, so when you check in, that's who you'll speak with.
Hey, Monica. And Monica also ordered lunch.
Yes, I did.
That's included.
Every day.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
That's awesome. And this is the nice lounge area for customers. Comfy seating, snacks and goodies right here. You can help yourself to beverages. And there's my steak salad right there. Awesome. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Yum.
You're investing in your unit with us, and we really care about that. So we want you to have a really good experience while you're here.
And speaking of the 6 a.m., you have coffee in the front.
Yes.
So for those of us that need to wake up, and the directions were amazing, by the way.
Good.
Huge camping area here. You've got 50 amp hookups. You do need to fill up with water before you come. But yeah, this is great. I'm going to spend the night inside the bay.
Yes.
So that'll be different.
Yep.
But yeah, I can't think of how you guys could make this any more smooth.
Good.
All the way down to watching the procedures of bringing over like the independent suspension, you know, on that rack, that custom made rack, and you put it right into place.
Yep.
It's like, you guys have been doing this a while.
It's a really good team.
Yeah.
Really good team here. We all work really well together. Everyone pitches in, so couldn't do it without everybody.
Well, I am
Including
very,
you guys.
I'm very impressed. So yeah, whatever suspension upgrades you're looking at, definitely come and see these guys. This is the camping area right here. Long spaces, plenty of room to back in, and 50 amp hookups right there. There's a place to get fresh water here as well. You do need to dump your tanks prior to coming. But yeah, it was not bad last night, overnight, and I'm gonna spend the night right inside that bay tonight. It's totally okay. They really have this set up awesome for those of you that don't want to stay in a hotel room or just want to stay with your RV with all your stuff. So it's a great setup.
Next place.
They just go down from 3 to 2, right?
Yeah. The last one we put slates in case you gain Alaska or something.
There we go. All right.
We're also adding in a ton of lateral support. So the I-beams have a tendency to twist. I-beams are super strong vertically, but then they want to twist on you a little bit. So what we do is every single one of these axles has a cross member going from I-beam to I-beam. And then we also add an extra two, one in the front and one in the rear, to really help strengthen that section of the frame where you're getting a lot of that twist that you typically see with the tube axles. Right, so the next thing that we're going to talk about that you're getting are the disc brakes. You'd already had disc brakes for a 7K setup, but now that you're going to 8K, you're going to get a little bit bigger of a disc brake. The disc brakes are going to give you a huge increase in stopping power and stopping time. So you're not going to be, oh my lands, I'm going to not be able to stop and I'm going to hit this guy in front of me. You're going to avoid all that. So that's one of the huge advantages safety feature-wise. That's one of the big things. With our setup, you'll notice that we have a clear end cap. This is a commonly misconcepted thing. So right on the cap, it does say oil bath bearings. These are not oil bath bearings. They are grease packed. We do require that these are greased every 12,000 miles or 12 months, whichever comes first. The reason that we do that is so when you pull them out and you're greasing them, you're actually inspecting the bearing at the same time. So if you have any sort of heat marks or anything like that, you can catch it and then prevent a bearing failure down the road. A lot of people ask me, how do I set my disc brakes? You already had them, so you probably have a pretty good idea. But what I always tell folks is you want to feel the trailer equal to your truck. So you don't want to feel it stopping the truck and you don't want to feel it pushing the truck. you want to feel like it's not even there. That's how you know you have them set correctly, because if you have them set too strong, you can burn through brake pads very quickly, which is not a good thing either. And if you don't have them strong enough, then you're going to be wearing out your truck brakes. So you just try to have it as even as you can, so you don't even feel it stopping behind you.
Well, you guys really have the system figured out, huh?
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
Trying to speed it up a little bit more if possible, but.
Yeah, no kidding. To be perfectly spaced out like that, yeah, put it right in place.
Another question that I get asked a lot is, where do I get parts? So on our brake parts, you can source local automotive pads that will be the same thing, same size, same shape, but it might not be the exact same color. That's okay. You can order parts from us. A lot of people will do that. We can overnight things, or from the manufacturer, the brake manufacturer themselves. Since we don't make the brakes, we're just subbing them through a different company.
Sweet, I'm gonna be a movie star.
You got it.
All in the day's work. All in the day's work.
Have a good one.
You too. There they go, the old axles. Now, if you're new to the RV life or even experienced, I have a course that you can get available for free. It's a beginner's guide to RVing, and it's through RV Life or RV Trip Wizard. So if you are already a member, you can get this course completely for free. And as you may have heard me mention before, we love our RV Life and RV Trip Wizard membership, because that's how we navigate through the country and make sure we stay on RV safe roads. We keep track of our entire camping schedule, and it's just great being able to input all the campgrounds that we're going to be staying at and the dates, and then it tells us the route to take. We love it. Actually, I'll put a QR code right here so you can just scan it with your smartphone, and actually I'll give you a code here on the screen that will save you 25% off of your membership. Yes. And then you can go to RV Masterclass, which is part of RV Life, and find my course. And again, there'll be a link to this down below in the description and the pinned comment, as well as our other favorite camping apps. Strangers. Isn't those robots like amazing? It's like
We need one of those.
right.
Set us up to set our RV up.
Can they edit for us? It's a thing of beauty. Well, thanks, Jay. They even have a 50 amp connection inside the bay here, so I can run my air conditioning tonight and not be too hot. Well, I'm spending the night right here in the service bay at a.m.Morryde, yet they allow you to stay in here. They leave the doors open. We can run the air conditioning because it's warm. And I'm going to want to leave the fan on all night and use earplugs because they have second and third shift workers here. So there's people working all night, potentially some noises like that one. And there's also a railroad track right over there. But I slept fine last night in the camping area. We'll just turn around real quick. We got a couple RVs in the camping area, you know, waiting for their service to start. or people that maybe don't want to travel, get on the road right away because the work is done in the afternoon. I met one couple that just decided to, when they came out of the bay, they just stayed over here for one night, got going this morning. It's decent, you know. I think it's good with earplugs. And then bright and early again at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. I think my eyes are a little bit red. I'll sleep later. Well, good morning. This is not what you expect to wake up to in the morning. Yeah, day 2 here at Morryde, wrapping up our awesome installs. I can't wait. It's early in the morning, just after 6 a.m., but that's how it goes. I got a solid 5 hours of sleep last night, between 11 and 4 o'clock this morning. But you certainly don't have to stay here if you don't want to. You can get a hotel room, but save the money. Earplugs are pretty good. Every time I have a tire issue, I'll ask, like, well, what about alignment? It's like, well, you can't align
not too bad.
these tires.
Yep.
So
You have to buy a new axle.
wow.
Yeah.
So you'll actually get more out of your tires.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I
so-
didn't realize that.
Yeah, do you ever notice a abnormal tire wear? You're not stuck having to look for a new axle. You can actually just get them realigned just like you would on your automobile. Now the difference is you're not going to feel this pulling like you would your car on the front end alignment. What you'll do is, I always tell people, keep an eye on everything. After you get out of the car and you stop after traveling, go out and just kind of look at things, make sure everything looks okay. A lot of people will touch the tires, touch the hubs to make sure there's no excessive heat. But just eye the tires. If you start to see abnormal inner or outer tire wear, then there's a sign that you need to get it aligned. You can really, it's preventative maintenance at that point. You're not going to have to wait till you blow a tire and realize, hey, I should get an alignment. You can catch it very early that way.
Yeah, so these need to be retorqued as well?
Yep. 100 miles from when you pull out, torque it down to 140.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that's a little higher than what I had before, right?
So when you first came in, you had half-inch studs, which we torqued those down to 100.
Okay.
Yep. So now you have the 9/16, so yeah, bump it up a little bit.
Sounds good. How does this help with the longevity of your RV?
Yeah, so that goes back to what we talked about here at the beginning of this segment with the strong foundation, strong house, weak foundation, weak house. If you go down south, Louisiana is a great example. The city itself is below sea level, so there's no basements. You'll have houses that are doing this, all kinds of weird stuff because they have weak foundations. So strengthening the foundation of the RV is one of the most crucial things that you can do if you plan on keeping it for a while. I will say that RVs are they're known right now currently for being a little bit less quality than what people think they should be. And they fall apart faster. Now, it's not always due to the craft. It's a lot of times due to the roads that you're putting them through. So every time you pull your RV down the road, you're essentially putting it through an earthquake, especially if you're on I-80 or some of these major highways that are just trashed. With the IS, you can take that shock out of there. You're not going to have as much energy going into the coach. You're not going to have as many issues with, the structure of it, walls popping off, cabinets falling down, lights falling down. I've seen all kinds of stuff where people have noted they've had things break while traveling. So that's in part of the suspension, because if the suspension cannot handle the roads, it's constantly sending shock up into the trailer's getting airborne. I've seen that going down the road. That's just absolutely shaking the snot out of your trailer. You do not want that as far as terms of longevity goes. You're gonna lose a lot of life in your trailer.
Well, and the frame as well.
Yep. Yeah, you see people have front frame cracking and sidewalls cracking and things like that. A lot of that's due to the stress because you have a weak foundation on your trailer.
Wow, you guys got to get this stuff standard, you know, on every RV.
Yep. Yeah, I think if every RV in the world had an IS on it, people would not think the roads are as bad, so to say. When they get to their campsite, they wouldn't have things all over the place.
Well, and what you're saying is there'd be a lot fewer complaints about RVs and quality issues, right?
Yep. A lot of it's not necessarily done at the manufacturing level. A lot of it's done after they leave.
So that's almost like a myth then, right? So a myth maybe in the RV industry is that there's poor quality builds in RVs, and it's not that. It's the roads we're driving.
Yeah, and that's not to say that it doesn't go on, because I do think that there is a little bit of that.
Right.
But I think a lot of people correlate issues that they have 6-8 months after they've bought the rig to the build, when in reality, it's probably the roads you're driving on, and all that energy getting transferred up into the trailer. Once they get the axles installed, they'll do an alignment. They'll run your brake lines, bleed the system, make sure everything works good. From there, we pull you out, we do final measurements, and then from there we go over the billing and all the owner's manuals, and then pay, get your t-shirts, and then you're on your way.
RC 5 1/4. $13.6. $13.6 1/4.
Our objective is to get you leaving here as level as possible. We always have folks coming in nose high. That seems to be the predominant thing that we see. Our goal is to then raise the back end up and get you towing as level as we can. There are parameters you have to work within, but for the most part, we can get folks very, very, very close. And that's a key part in ride quality. So you want to have as much even on both axles as you can. You don't want to have one axle way overloaded compared to the other. So we try to set them as level as we can.
So what are we checking here now?
We are checking the level. Like when you first came in,
25 3/4.
Okay.
Yep, to see if it changed or not. Went up about 1/4 in the front.
Okay.
Yep, and about 5 inches in the back. Not 5 inches.
Okay.
About 4.
So the back was probably kind of hanging low, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's going to help me with my clearance in the back then.
Yep, we brought you up.
Okay, first test inside the RV traveling, and let's put a glass of water out. Plus, we'll be able to see how much it shakes on the inside now. We don't want it to slide forward, so we will tape it down. Okay, about a half full glass of water right there. We'll see if that splashes, and we'll see how everything else rides in here on this first ride. All right, all packed up here at EnjoyTheJourney. It's time for the very first test drive with the EnjoyTheJourney independent suspension system. I can't wait. Well, here's one big test. going over some railroad tracks. And the truck is still a little bouncy, but you know,
Now turn left.
when the RV went over it, it didn't feel that bad. It's like the truck bounces over and then the RV just glides right over. This is so cool. It's so funny, the truck will bounce. You'll feel the front tires and the back tires do their thing, and you're so used to the RV tires feeling that, like, okay, it's gonna hit, and it never hits. It's like smooth. Well, let's see how it does on the highway. Like, here's a bridge right here. I can feel the truck is still shaking quite a bit, but then when the RV goes over it, it's a lot smoother. So it's really weird, but super cool. Yeah, and here we go through a construction zone, and those are notorious for bad bumps. But even the truck, which bounces around quite a bit, feels better towing with the independent suspension. How about that? Not a spill.
It's 1 year later after having the independent suspension installed, and it is a true game changer. No more broken dishes, a much smoother ride with the RV, no trim falling down, all of that stuff. I really do feel like it will make the life of the RV last longer. And if you are interested in independent suspension, if you set up an appointment and use our code Enjoy the Journey, you can actually get $100 toward any of the other awesome MORRIDE products that are out there when you're getting that installation, or use it for a credit in the future. This is truly one of the best RV upgrades that you can do. Tires seem to be having nice even wear as well.
Wow. Hey, you've blown my mind, and your entire staff and everybody here, and the technology that you guys have for these upgrades and how you keep improving them. And now I've got, gosh, with the IS and, you know, the new steps and all of them, I'm so thrilled to be getting on the road today to be like, what is this gonna feel like?
Yep.
So gosh, thank you very much.
Yep.
Really appreciate it. So again, suspension, you know, think about it. You're putting 50, 100K or more into your RV suspension. You need to make that investment so your RV lasts a lot longer. So make sure you check out MORRIDE. And for our next video, you can click right over here.